election season. The election is tomorrow. This is a bonus episode because we have to talk about the fact that it is an election season and the election is tomorrow.
It's
almost a really big deal.
Like the election season is almost over.
Which is funny because I feel like we've been here for at least 6 months talking.
2021.
Literally, in a way. Like, I think it was like a couple months ago, someone mentioned like 2028, and I was like, hold up.
Wait, I'm not there yet.
We're not there.
Mentally, I'm not there.
Let's take a minute.
I love the meme that's like, okay, can Halloween and election season just be over? It's been that season for 4 years.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Like, I'm over both of them.
Well, we have all of these numbers because today we're talking about the swing states. We're talking about where polling stands. Polling is a moving target.
It truly is.
It really, really is.
Yeah.
It's like a buck running through the forest at a sprint.
And we'll show it to you right now. And that doesn't mean that in a few days or hours or minutes, it will not be totally different.
Totally different. But as of I think like Thursday, the reports were that there was only about 3% of the population, of voters, not even the population, of voters that still were making up their mind on who they were going to choose, who they're going to vote for. So it has been, in the last several days, just a fight from both the Harris campaign and the Trump campaign of trying to make those final appeals, taking advantage fully of comments, whether it was Biden's garbage comment or Trump's comment about Liz Cheney, like just anything both campaigns has been seizing on of like, all right, we're going to run this for all it's worth. But I do think since there's only 7 states, as we've talked about, there's only 7 states that all of this comes down to, Kristen. So you have done an amazing job. I have to give full credit to Kristen here because I did like nothing.
You were along for the ride, like the last 6 months.
I was like the moral support that was like, yeah, that looks great. But Kristen has made just a really detailed outline of like, okay, for each swing state, this is what we're looking at. These are the swing counties. Yeah. Which I think is really helpful when you're going into election night because it's sort of like watching football when you don't understand the rules of football and it's just it's not fun. But election night, when you actually understand, okay, it all comes down to X or Y, and especially if you're at a party where like people have some knowledge of it and like all of a sudden like the results for Arizona comes in and everyone's like really happy or really upset and you're like, but like there's 20 more states to be called and you're confused as to why everyone's like, well, that's the game. Yeah. Anyway, I'm rambling.
No,
but I mean, it's super helpful to have the breakdown.
Right. No, and it's kind of signals, right? Because we talk about 7 swing states, but then there's a few counties that you're truly paying attention to. Like if you remember from 2020.
The swing counties and the swing states.
Swing counties and the swing states. That's where that's why Kamala and Trump are both going to the areas that they're going to. I mean, just in the last few days, they've gone to Georgia, they've gone to Michigan, and they've gone to North Carolina. I think honestly they've gone to pretty much every swing state. But they've gone to different locations. So I mean, when they were in Wisconsin, Green Bay for Trump, Madison for Harris, like that was intentional because that is where they think their unaffiliated voters, those marginal independents that haven't made up their mind, that 3% within each of those states, that's where they are headed. And like we said, we've kind of got our swing state breakdown. Polling at the end of the day is, it's what it is. It's going to totally change. As it stands right now, Trump is winning Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. Very small margins. Yeah. And if you remember from 2020, there were 0.2% margins that Biden won some of those states by. Yep. In the meantime, Harris has part of the wall, Michigan and Wisconsin. She's got the lead there. And again, that's why we see them hitting the states that they're hitting and bringing their campaign and having, I mean, you can even go to their websites and see where door knocking campaigns are. And it's like, let's go from DC to Madison or DC to Maricopa County, Phoenix, whatever. But thank you 270 for having this awesome, 270 to win, for having this awesome map. That's kind of where we pulled from.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
just to make it super easy. So we can kind of see where we're at state-wise. Illinois, obviously blue, unfortunately.
Home. I mean, Michigan girl.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
Illinois girl.
Illinois.
But yeah, why don't we, do you want to,
let's jump in. But before we dig in, I'm Virginia Allen.
I'm Kristen Eichhammer.
And here on Problematic Women, every week we sort through the news. We look for those stories that we know are of interest to conservative women who are, in fact, problematic women because we don't fit the left's mold of what a feminist should be. So every single Wednesday, we go live. We premiere on YouTube, on Rumble, and then on Thursdays, we are across all podcast platforms. And obviously today is a special day because it's election week. And
it's a Monday.
Are crazy, and it's Monday. So we're like, okay, we got to talk about this. And then you can catch us back here again on Wednesday, where we will be living on coffee and a prayer.
Yes.
And just talking about what we have seen. My bet is we are not going to know by the time we record on Wednesday who the winner is. I hope I'm wrong. I'll be surprised if I'm
I
wrong.
concur. I think that's the case. If you're here with us, we're trying to break down what we're going to see this election cycle. But make sure if you have a friend might be interested or family, give us a like, share. Really, you can find us wherever you consume a podcast. And we're on YouTube. Obviously, we love YouTube, so you can see us. And that's why today we're super excited to kind of dive more into these swing states, and we have visuals.
Yes, we have visuals. So if you are listening just on a podcast app, I encourage you to push pause and go search for the Daily Signal on YouTube, and you can watch our video there.
As long as you're not driving.
Exactly. Yeah.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer. We will explain what we are talking about on the screen for those listening, but it's fun to be able to see the slides.
Yeah.
So, all right, take us away.
Let's cue
Kristen.
up Arizona. Going in alphabetical order.
Okay. The swing state of Arizona, that right now Trump has a very, very thin margin of victory in, a very, very thin lead.
Yeah, and it's 11 electoral votes.
11 electoral votes.
Nothing. That's pretty high. I mean, some of these states we're looking at are a little less.
A little less, but yeah, no, Arizona that's significant. 11 is significant. And for the state of Arizona,
perfect.
11. There we go.
Yeah, and kind of like what I wanted to do here to set the stage is we've got our map, right? And we kind of have the shading. This is all from 2020. Thank you, Fox News, for having some of the best graphics. I mean, Heritage and Daily Signal obviously has the greatest, but Fox News does a great job of breaking it down. We love them. And I think what's important here is to kind of look at the history, because that kind of, allows you to understand where our voters are. Like we said, only 3% are unaffiliated. And in 2020, Biden won the state of Arizona by 0.3%.
So thin a margin.
Insane. And it really came down to, I'm sure people remember this if you were paying attention, Maricopa County.
Yep.
That is where 60% of the population of Arizona lives. It's Phoenix, the home of Phoenix. And so really when you are watching that TV tomorrow night on election night, that is where you're going to be looking. That voting count total. Is Maricopa County close to being in? Because that will allow you to understand where the vote is kind of headed.
Yeah.
Other swing counties, Yuma, Trump won by about 6%, Navajo, 8.2%, and then Pima County is actually another Democrat stronghold. It's up in that top section there. Okay. And that is kind of the reason people are paying attention to it is 1 in 3 voters in Arizona are Hispanics. And so what that means is both campaigns have kind of, made their case to the Hispanic community, but a lot of those Hispanics there are pretty frustrated with the illegal immigration, the border crisis.
Yep.
And so people are trying to pay attention there because we don't think that it's going to be an 18.7% difference here in favor of Biden. Sorry, it doesn't say that there, but Harris. It's not going to be necessarily as strongly Democrat, and so people are interested to see what happens there. That's where policy makes a difference, and the campaign promises make a difference. So.
Absolutely. Well, and I was interested in hearing one pollster say, if by the time that the polls close in Arizona, if Harris doesn't have a lead, it's really unlikely that she will win Arizona. So by the time the polls close, pay attention. Where does Arizona stand at that moment?
Right.
All right.
Last little curveball here is the Arizona Proposition 139, and that we've talked about this before. Harris has been running on abortion for women, and that is who she's trying to get out to vote in Arizona. This proposition is trying to basically put into place, it makes abortion a fundamental right in Arizona up to fetal viability.
Or it enshrines it in the Constitution.
Yes. Or up until, it doesn't really have a limit, because if a healthcare provider says that woman, they call it pregnant person, I think, in this amendment, which is insane. But if that, pregnancy, a healthcare provider is like, nope, we're at 8 months, 9 months, it needs to happen, it could still happen, which is insane. And people are pointing to that as their attempt to get people out to vote. But that's Arizona.
That's a strategy.
Got 11 electoral votes. Not that's nothing to.
It's
that's a lot.
big deal. All right, let's roll on Georgia.
Let's go to Yeah.
Georgia.
Down to Georgia.
We both have a love for Georgia.
love
I went to
Georgia.
high school in Georgia.
Yeah.
Your family lives in Georgia
College
now.
in Georgia. It's a
college in
love
Georgia
relationship
it's
mostly.
a great state, the peach state.
And when we're talking about, electoral vote numbers, 16. So that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
of electoral
And some fun drama. Okay, well, first of all, let's start with Biden won
Margin.
by 0.2%.
So
That's
small.
like razor thin.
Razor.
For perspective, that's 11,779 votes. So like when people say one vote matters, like it does.
It does.
That's not that many votes.
So
but
vote if you haven't voted.
yes. But big thing here to pay attention to is one, they redistricted. I think that's how you say that in past tense. So actually some of these counties people are saying are more favorable to the GOP, which could add some drama, right? Like that's the little curveball in Georgia is that redistricting.
Yep.
But some counties to pay attention to, most of them are around Macon, which for those of you who may not be familiar, it's actually a university town, Mercer. Is
It's
there.
south, right?
Yeah, it's like in this area, kind of some of those blues. Biden won the districts around that area. Super close margins again, 0.7%. He won in Washington County. Baldwin, he only won by 1.3%. And then Sumter, he won by 4.8%. That's kind of a stronger lead. But the one county I wanted to bring up, and then I want your thoughts, Virginia, is Clayton County. And that's this little guy right here.
Okay.
It is in Atlanta. And the idea here is that it has a high population of African Americans, Black Americans. Why that's important? I mean, Trump has made his way to Georgia a lot, and both him and Kamala have called Georgia the pathway to the White House. And that is because Black voters, we've seen, are tired of being kind of taken for granted. That's their words, obviously not mine. And the Democrats for a long time have assumed that they've just, they have secured, locked, and loaded that Black vote. There are a lot of men there that are super frustrated, and people are expecting Clayton to kind of shift colors a little bit, maybe more purple than red, just because it still is Atlanta. But we're not expecting to see 70.9%. And when we talk about counties, the population, obviously, and number of votes is a lot more important. So there's a huge opportunity in Clayton County right now.
Wow, fascinating.
But,
That's gonna be
Georgia
interesting to
girl.
watch. Georgia. See how it goes down. All right, up next.
Up next,
What do we got?
we've got Michigan.
Michigan.
And that is a part of the Blue Wall.
Yes.
Yeah.
That Harris is expected to win. Obviously not guaranteed. None of this is guaranteed. we'll say it once and say it again. 15 electoral votes in the great state of Michigan. So interesting to see how much water. Anyway, I'm just like, wow, Michigan has so much water.
up there.
Yeah, all up there. Okay, so again, razor thin margins. In 2020, Biden got 49.5% of the vote. Trump only got 49.3% of the vote. So that 0.2%. It's a big deal.
It's huge. And when we look at these counties, obviously, if you're noticing a trend here, most of these counties are around a highly populated area.
Yep.
Yeah, it's either Atlanta, Phoenix, in this case, Detroit, we've got Michigan. And that's why we saw Eminem come out for a rally for Harris. And, they're
Not the
leaning...
Candy, the rapper.
Yeah, yes. Not the Candy, the rapper. But that's what makes these, swing counties very interesting. We've got Wayne, which actually is the location of Dearborn. So there's a lot of attention there. Biden won 38.2%, or by 38.2%.
Yeah,
so that was
big
I think a 70-ish% of the vote there.
Wow.
But what people they're speculating is, again, because of the Palestine issue.
And the high Muslim population there.
Yep.
Okay.
Dearborn is kind of the center for that in that area.
Yep.
So you have that. That's a swing or curveball in Michigan, I guess, is the
major curveball.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes into effect. These other guys, they're mostly around Detroit. So again, those are pretty close margins. He won
thin margins.
Saginaw by 0.3%, Muskegon by 0.6%.
0.6%, yeah.
Yeah, 0.6%. And again, those are, when you're talking about those unaffiliated voters, that is where they are.
Yep.
So picking up, he won Michigan by 154,000 votes. So there's a huge population in Michigan to be won. Wow. But yeah, Grand Traverse is kind of over here, and it's just another swing county. Funny joke, though. People have said that Michigan and Wisconsin, like when they play football, they should be playing for UP, which would totally change the electoral votes every 4 years, every 2 years.
They just traded it back and forth.
No, like they're like, why is that like Wisconsin? The fact they haven't taken it yet.
Hysterical. I love that. That's very funny.
All right, talking about
competition is alive and well.
Our next swing state. Let's go to Nevada.
Nevada.
That's a whole argument in within itself. All right, so Nevada is a 6 electoral vote state.
So not as many as some of our other
Not as
states.
many, but sometimes six votes count.
6 votes can
It's
count,
kind of
and they
insane.
can count big.
And in this case, Biden only won by 2.4% or 33,596 votes in 2020.
Wow.
I think big thing here is traditionally Democrats have won Nevada. Hillary won it, Obama won it. And I mean, Trump never won it. So
Yeah.
Clinton, like the fact that that is like where we are and we still have this small razor thin margin is insane. Big thing here to point out, again, going back to those epicenters of a state, Clark County, Biden won by 9.4%. That is where Las Vegas is. So that's where there are people, there are a lot of people there.
Interesting.
And there aren't as close margins, but the reason people are thinking that this state is still up to play, and it is right now, I think the polling did say Trump has it, is because there is a large percentage, just like Arizona, it's very similar. Arizona has a lot of Hispanics, so does Nevada. So we're kind of that's the vibe right now when you have that demographic of voters.
Yeah, I saw from a pollster, they said really it's all going to come down in their estimation to Clark County. And they estimated that Harris would need to win Clark County by at least 6% in order to take the state.
Ooh,
so
interesting.
We'll be watching Clark County.
Well, and
very
there's
closely.
a bunch of gun owners out there. A lot of people with lands.
Makes sense.
Obviously there's Native Americans out there too. So it's crazy. It is crazy.
Very, very diverse.
But talking about another crazy state, let's go to North Carolina. That hasn't been
North
in the news
Carolina,
recently, right?
Not at all. I just got back I was there a week ago.
Yeah, tell us about it. Tell us about North Carolina.
So North Carolina, you obviously have this wild card with the hurricane. So that's the major wild card of, okay, are those communities going to be able to get out and vote in the same way that they have in previous elections? We hope so. But also, when you've just lost everything, voting in an election might not be the most important thing to you. And I also get that. You don't have a home, and so maybe you're not going to get out to the polls. But a huge effort, I think, is going to be made to get those folks to the polls, but that could be a factor. 16 electoral votes. North Carolina went from 15 to 16, so big deal. They have even more sway. But what it's going to come down to is North Carolina's first district, in all likelihood, which is up here, its first congressional district. And there are a couple counties within this district that have just insanely razor-thin margins. And where I was last week was Nash County, which, so in 2020, Biden won Nash County by 120 votes.
120, not even
out
1,000.
of over 50,000 votes. 120 votes.
Oh my gosh.
That's it. And then in 2016, Trump beat Clinton in that same county by 118 votes. Wow. So we are talking razor-thin margins.
You can count those people.
You can literally count those people, or, the people that didn't vote because they happened to wake up sick that morning, or whatever. So I went and I talked to voters at the polling place, and it was honestly pretty 50-50 split. The issues that the folks are concerned about there are what we're hearing from the national population, border and immigration, the economy, abortion. So North Carolina is, I think right now polling is showing it's leaning a little bit towards Trump. Obviously Trump won it in 2020. My thinking is that it probably will still go for Trump, but again.
No, and that's why a lot of people were concerned and why there was so much criticism over the federal response for that hurricane. However, a lot of pollsters are saying even if Trump does lose some of those Western votes from, true red districts, a lot of people, even in those cities that make up those blue districts, are frustrated with the federal response. And when you're an incumbent, in which Vice President Harris is,
essentially is,
there is that you get some flack from that. So people are actually expecting potentially for those Western cities, suburbs, etc., to turn out more for Trump now as a result of that hurricane, despite what you're hearing. And obviously, we have no idea what's going to happen. And the government's doing what it can, for the hurricane response. But
absolutely,
that's North Carolina. So exciting that you were there.
I know, it was really fascinating to be on the ground and talk to folks. North Carolina, great state.
Great state. We love, but another state we love. have, and one that's really
Oh,
a
boy.
target, is Pennsylvania.
I am a little obsessed with Pennsylvania this
Oh, really?
election. I just am fascinated by it. Like, it is such a fight. Pennsylvania
Yeah.
is going to be like a fight to the death, I feel
Yeah.
like. I mean, not really, but
Maybe. No, I'm just kidding.
no, with 19 electoral votes. That is so many electoral votes.
So insane.
Yeah.
And Biden obviously won. He won by 1.2%.
Yep.
He had a very different MO there. He was kind of running as a moderate, your Uncle Joe, cool guy from Scranton. So obviously
Kinda
from
has
PA.
that Rust Belt vibe.
Yeah,
Yep.
totally leaning into it. Harris doesn't have that.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. But areas we're paying attention to.
Yes. So there's a couple areas specifically, like we've talked about, those more urban areas are very close. So Harris really needs to win Allegheny and Philadelphia, big Allegheny County, and then the area around Philadelphia. She has to pick up a really big lead there. Bucks County is split between Democrat and Republican.
It's long, right?
Or
maybe not.
Don't quote me. I don't know. But that one's really, really critical. And then Erie is going to be the main one to watch. That's going to be the one that
That's up here.
potentially, that really, really determines who wins. But going back to what pollsters are saying, in one estimation from a pollster, they said if Trump wins Pennsylvania, it's 97% likely he wins the election. That's pretty confident. It was a pretty bold statement. I don't know if that's accurate, but to put that much weight on Pennsylvania is part of why I'm so curious to see what happens, because, and I said it on the show before, but it is going to be so fascinating if Harris loses. And if Pennsylvania costs her the election, everyone is going to say, why did she pick Walz? Why not Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, to be her VP pick? And that will be something that will be talked about in campaign strategy rooms forever and ever.
Just like the garbage truck stuff,
Just
right?
like the garbage truck stuff.
And again, as you can see, we've got Pittsburgh, we've got Philadelphia. Those are, where our blue counties are. Big demographic here is the collar counties. Now, I had to Google this because I thought collar meant like blue collar, white collar.
Yeah.
But it also refers to where they are located, these counties located in relevance to the city. So like kind of the collar around that county, the location. I know, isn't that weird?
That actually
no
makes
idea.
sense.
But so it works both ways. Obviously, you have a mix of white and blue collar in those areas, but it also makes the collar of that larger geographical area, which I think is so cute. And
That is
I don't
interesting.
know.
So in the same way in DC, referred to the Beltway, like just outside the Beltway.
Right. But 19 votes, that's huge.
Huge.
I think we're rounding it out, though. Let's go back to the last
We're
of
rounding it out.
the big blue wall, right?
Yeah. All right.
Wisconsin. The cheeseheads.
10 electoral votes. So still significant. Not as many as some other. And Biden won it in 2020. Very small.
0.7%.
Wow.
Yeah.
So close.
Margin.
Word. All right,
Yeah.
so what are we looking at, Wisconsin?
Wisconsin is a little crazy, and I think it's important to look back at the history of Wisconsin because Obama actually was able to secure Wisconsin twice. Trump then took it in 2016, and then Biden took it, obviously, in 2020.
True swing state.
Right, true swing. It's really living its life right now. But we've got a few counties that we are going to be paying attention to: Dorr, Portage, and Racine. And actually, I added Waukesha, which is actually it's where my sister kind of lives, which is fun. It's right by Illinois. It's technically red, I think. But somewhere in that little,
It's a block in here.
there's a lot of blocks. They do not gerrymander.
Good job,
I guess Dorr, kind of, and that's that little blue piece up there, obviously near Green Bay. We've got, I think that's Green Bay, right? Yeah. We're gonna say
I'm not a Midwest.
I'm not making my Midwest roots proud. It's fine. But obviously, again, huge opportunity here. At one point, it actually kind of funny. The same pollsters were saying what you said about Pennsylvania. Like if you win Wisconsin, you've got a certain high percentage. I don't remember it exactly off the top of my head, but Wisconsin is interesting because we've got a lot of rural voters. There's a lot of farmland out there. There's a lot of dairy farms out there, but there's also a huge mix of college students because you've got the University of Wisconsin up there in Madison.
Right.
So it's kind of, anyone's guess at this point. Obviously, they have Harris winning right now, but razor thin margins. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Wisconsin. Some people, I know it's like a tongue twister. Some people are saying that might be where Trump is able to actually break the wall. Some pollsters are more positive about Wisconsin than Pennsylvania. But again, like we started, polling, nothing is done with polling until it's all said and all votes are cast.
It's not over till it's over.
Yeah. So these are the counties to kind of pay attention to on election night: Dorr, Portage, and Racine. If you want to, Waukesha is another one where, I mean, Trump had a pretty solid lead, but just given some of the immigration and demographic changes, we might see some change actually in favor of blue in this case.
Okay.
But again, anyone's guess.
Anyone's guess. Wow. We are locked and loaded here.
Let's go.
The election is on Tuesday, tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
For anyone who wants to be following just throughout the play-by-play, the Daily Signal is going to be the place to follow everything. We have multiple ways to keep up. If you're like, I just want to be on X that night and just following, we will have, I get it. Like, you're like, just give it to me straight. And that's for the most part what you'll get on X. You can be following the Daily Signal on X. We'll be posting out. If you're like, I want to watch something, just have it on in the background. The Tony Kinnett cast is going to be broadcasting from the Daily Signal's YouTube. I'm going to be down in West Palm Beach, which I'm excited at Trump HQ. It's still TBD. I think we're not exactly sure. We're figuring out where the president is going to be, former president is going to be. But a lot of his campaign folks are going to be down in West Palm Beach. So we're just going to be pumping out lots of coverage. Of course, if you're a print person, you're like, just give me the facts on paper. Then check out the Daily Signal website, dailysignal.com. You can follow everything there. It is going to be a very late night. And like we said, it's in all likelihood, we're not going to know on Tuesday night.
Yeah, there's some legal battles in Pennsylvania, Arizona already. So
yeah, well, and you have states like in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, they're not allowed to start counting their mail-in votes before Election Day.
Yeah.
So that means that all has to be done starting on Election Day. And then you have Arizona and Nevada, and they only have to be postmarked by Election Day for those mail-in ballots.
And that actually, huge point that I totally forgot to bring up about Arizona. Nevada, they send out ballots to everyone, regardless of if you ask for one or not. Just like the parsing through that is going to be very interesting. Obviously, there's some election integrity measures that are going to be implemented, but that obviously causes a lot of work on the back end.
It does. Again, things we'll be following here at the Daily Signal.
Yeah.
But thanks, guys, for joining us for our election breakdown.
We'll be with you.
Stay strong.
And go and vote.
Go vote. Yeah. If you haven't voted, go vote. Cast your ballot. And remember, elections, yes, whoever's president affects us. Your local leaders honestly affect your life way more on a daily basis. So do a little research on who the folks are running for your school board and for your county commissioner offices.
Yeah.
Those have a huge impact. As we all learned from COVID, our local leaders really affect our daily lives. Yeah. So do your research and vote. We'll see you back here on Wednesday if you're on YouTube, and on Thursday if you're listening across the podcast platform. Awesome. Happy Election Day!
Happy Election Day!